This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. My wife's childhood friend was diagnosed with cancer, and the doctor said he didn't have much time left. A master claimed it would take one life to save another. So she aborted the child we had struggled 3 years to conceive through IVF, just to extend his life. And she didn't forget to post a heartfelt message on social media. Tony, may my sacrifice exchange for your life. I hope the heavens are moved and will allow you to stay by my side. Relatives and friends all watched as if it were a joke at my expense. In the end, I clicked like on her post and even left a comment. What a touching love story. Should I prepare a wedding gift for you 2 foot? After posting the comment, I realized my last conversation with Haley was still from a week ago. Her tone was flat, as if we were just discussing what to eat for dinner. I'm going to abort the baby. The master said this child brings bad luck to Tony. Only by getting rid of it can his life be saved, clean and decisive. Without the slightest regard that this was the child we spent 3 years trying for. That night, after a huge fight, she moved into Tony's hospital room. She could actually go this far, for a childhood friend dying of cancer. Bitterness rose from the depths of my heart. Then Haley's call came through. What do you mean by that comment? Are you trying to make people laugh at me? Her voice was as impatient as always. I suddenly felt drained. Think whatever you want. Somehow that made her even angrier. She raised her voice so much my eardrums started to ache. Was that really necessary? Tony has cancer. Why are you jealous of a patient? Can't you think about me for once, honey? This might be the only chance to save Tony's life. She still called me honey, but there wasn't a trace of regard for me in her heart. Forget it. I didn't want to argue anymore. When are you coming back? Let's get the divorce papers signed. I didn't wait for her reply and ended the call first. This marriage had already numbed me. I tried my best to love her, to accommodate her, but Haley always found a reason to criticize or scold me, as if I was born to accept this treatment from her. Whenever she showed me a little kindness, I would be overjoyed and erase all the unfairness of the past, clinging to that one rare drop of warmth. Those who are favored act fearlessly. Haley played this truth to perfection, but when the road comes to an end, you have to choose a new path. A few messages popped up on my phone. The boss had approved my resignation. The next one was a reply to a resume I sent a few days ago. Mr. Rocky, we've reviewed your resume. We're very interested in your experience. Would you be available for an interview tomorrow? I replied, yes, and began packing up my desk. I only chose this job because it was close to home after marrying Haley. I didn't like it. It didn't mean much to me. Now it's time to change. Why not? I didn't expect the HR interviewer to be someone I knew. Rocky, I can't believe it's you. It's been so long. Serena's surprised eyes studied me. The little girl who used to cry behind me as a kid had grown into a poised professional. Even I hadn't expected that. Yeah, it's been a while. Serena used to be my childhood friend, but I moved away, and we gradually lost touch. Despite the time, our conversation flowed naturally. I was genuinely interested in the job, and after our talk, she told me to wait for the follow-up. Before I left, she waved at me. Don't worry, Rocky. It should be good news. Just as I arrived home by cab and opened the door, Haley's assistant Peter knocked. Mr. Rocky, Ms. Haley wants you to come to the hospital. I looked at him blankly. Why? Peter hesitated. You don't know. Miss Haley just had the abortion today. She's resting at the hospital and wants you to visit. On the way to the hospital in Peter's car, I could feel his strange glances at me. He was probably mocking me inside too. My wife aborted our child for another man, and I still came running to care for her. Not just him. Most of our friends and relatives didn't think our marriage would last, because we weren't a good match. Haley inherited the H Group empire, a high and mighty heiress, and I was just an ordinary working man. What did I ever do to deserve her? At some point, inferiority took root in me. When relatives said I didn't deserve her, when Haley looked at me with disdain, my pride was trampled over and over. Back then, I chose to compromise, to keep my heart somewhat balanced, to prove to others that Rocky wasn't worthless. But after the abortion, I finally realized all I'd been holding on to was a pathetic joke. Without love, nothing means anything. When I opened the hospital room door, Haley hurled a water cup at me. You dare hang up on me? I dodged it and let the cup shatter at my feet. I was busy resigning, didn't have time to talk. Her eyes widened. Fury made her weak face look twisted. You resigned. Why didn't you discuss it with me? I glanced at her coldly. You aborted our child, without discussing it with me either. Her hand froze midair. Darkness flashed in her eyes. But the master said, this was the only way to save Tony. Can't you try to understand? I'm so weak right now, and you don't even care. Rocky, you're selfish and heartless. Her words made me laugh, a real laugh I couldn't hold back. Haley, who had been spoiled her whole life, never once considered anyone else's feelings. whether the master was telling the truth, whether the doctor said she might never conceive again. She didn't care. She did whatever she wanted. I used to convince myself to compromise, because I still loved her deeply, but love that goes unanswered eventually wears you out. Tears came with the laughter. I wiped them away and handed her the divorce papers under her puzzled gaze. Since you put it that way, I guess I shouldn't be in your life anymore. Let's divorce. We'll call it even. Maybe it was the first time someone had said this to her. Haley was so angry she couldn't speak clearly. You actually dare mention divorce? How dare you? She wasn't as strong as usual, fresh from surgery. Her lips were pale. If this had been before, I would have made her soup, stayed by her side all night, watching for the slightest change. That was the only way I felt at ease. But now, I just glanced at her and looked away, seeing me silent. Haley clutched her chest and coughed violently. A doctor quickly came to check, then looked at me with disapproval. How could you agitate her like this? She's just lost her child. Can't you show some compassion to the mother? I looked at Haley, now calm in her sleep, and said firmly, what if that mother chose to give up her child to save another man? Another man? The doctor froze, then looked at me for a long while, his face full of sympathy. That look, I'd seen it many times in the past few years. After the doctor left, Haley fell asleep. I left too, and went home to pack my things. A new message popped up. Congratulations, Rocky. You passed the interview. I smiled for real this time. Thanks, Serena, and kept packing. Then another message arrived. It was from Haley. Why did you leave without saying anything? I stayed silent. Once everything was packed, I finally replied. You wanted me to wake you before I left. Don't worry, once we're divorced, no one will bother you again. A long time passed. Then she sent another. Fine, let's divorce. Just don't regret it. A week later, it was time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau for the divorce. But Haley didn't show up. When Peter called me, there was a trace of sympathy in his voice. Mr. Tony is having surgery. President Haley is by his side. She might have forgotten about this. Oh, by the way, Haley's parents want to talk to you. I figured it would just be more of the same scolding. Sure enough, the moment he saw me, Haley's father's face turned grim with displeasure. How could you let Haley act so recklessly? Her health has never been good. Why didn't you take better care of her? If I could have taken care of her, would we really have ended up getting divorced? I didn't show much expression, and for the first time, I didn't follow along with his accusations. She's the one who insisted on the abortion. She signed the papers. She found the doctor. She didn't even tell me anything about it beforehand. Haley's father, hearing something he didn't want to hear, flushed red with anger. Haley's mother quickly patted his back and helped him sit down, then sighed deeply as she turned to face me. This child really is immature. But all these years you couldn't win Haley's heart. Couldn't make her forget that man. Isn't that your problem too? Marriage issues are never just one person's fault. Have you ever thought maybe you didn't do enough? I had no patience left for this nonsense. Enough. Instead of lecturing me, you'd be better off convincing your daughter to sign the divorce papers. It's better for both of us. Haley's mother looked at me in disbelief. How could you be so heartless? It was your blessing that Haley chose you. What are you making a scene for now? I couldn't help but laugh coldly. A blessing? I'd rather not have that kind of blessing. The name Tony had haunted my nightmares, chilling me to the core. I'd known about him even before we got married. Haley's childhood friend. She used to bring him home, talking about things I couldn't understand, laughing together like they were in their own world. At first, I tried hard to join in, but I never really could. Eventually, I just smiled dumbly like an outsider. The only thought keeping me going back then was, if I'm the one who stays with Haley until the end, then it'll all be worth it. But what changed that naive thought of mine? It was during our 5-year anniversary trip abroad. Haley brought Tony along. On the beach, I was unlucky enough to get stung by a jellyfish that had washed ashore. The sharp pain made me pass out. By the time I came to, the wound was swollen and bruised. I called Haley for help, asked her to get someone, but she just laughed, not taking it seriously at all. Oh my God, you fainted from a jellyfish sting. How embarrassing is that? Haha, well, I'm busy right now. Tony's helping me put on sunscreen. You're awake, so you're probably fine. Why don't you call someone yourself? In that moment, the cold that cut through my heart made me go quiet for a long time. Later, a staff member saw I wasn't moving and called for an ambulance. That's how I survived. Since then, I buried that thought deep down. But when I found out she was aborting our child, it vanished completely. Tell your daughter not to always come running to her parents with every problem. With that, I walked out of Haley's house without looking back. I rented a place near my new company. To prepare for onboarding, I went to a nearby hospital for a physical. The hospital was big. I wandered around and almost got lost. As I passed one of the rooms, I heard a voice that sounded vaguely familiar. Master, here's your hush money. I leaned closer and was shocked. Wasn't Tony supposed to be dying? He looked healthier than I did sitting on that hospital bed. Carefully, I walked up to the room's doorway and heard him laughing, unable to hide it. I told you this trick would work. She got rid of the baby. Then I'll pretend to get better. Becoming the H family family's son-in-law is just around the corner. My body froze. Did I just hear that right? Pretending to be sick. Was that really what he meant? Before I could process it, I saw Haley walking toward the room from the end of the hallway. I quickly left. Back in the apartment, my thoughts slowly became clearer. If Tony really faked his illness, then what about the baby Haley aborted? I took several deep breaths and forced myself not to dwell on it. Truth or lies, what did it matter? Haley never really cared about me. As I was getting my paperwork ready, my phone rang again. It was Haley. Remembering the unsigned divorce papers, I decided to answer. Rocky, do you have to be this cruel? What did my parents ever do to you? Why were you giving them such attitude today? Another baseless scolding. My voice turned cold. What did I do wrong? You said you loved kids. You said even if IVF took 100 tries, you'd still want one. But the moment Tony got into trouble, you just went and got rid of our child. So what does that make me? Haley paused, then tried to defend herself. That was the only way to save Tony. Even if there was the tiniest chance, I had to try. If I had a terminal illness, Tony would have done the same for me. Besides, even if I can't have kids anymore, we can always adopt. Can you stop being so petty? In the end, I was the one being small-minded. My fingers dug into my palm without realizing it. I didn't want to argue anymore. I didn't even care about those papers. Think whatever you want. Sign it or don't. Either way, I'm clearly not good enough for the H family. I hung up, feeling a lot better. Coincidentally, a few colleagues from my old job heard I'd quit and wanted to hang out. I invited them for drinks and some chatting. After a few rounds, we were all in a good mood, especially when they heard I was finally leaving my unhappy marriage. They suggested we go have some fun. How about we play a murder mystery game? Staying up all night, it'll be a blast. Come on, that's basically just another meeting. What's fun about that? I'm out. In the end, we still decided to check out the newly opened murder mystery club. Funny enough, it was one of the few hobbies I'd always liked, but Haley looked down on it, said it was childish and beneath me. What's so fun about a stupid script? If you have time for that, why not focus on improving your career? You haven't even made it to manager after all these years. Eventually, I gave up the hobby to avoid her constant complaints, but after tonight, I would never care about that woman's opinions again. After waiting a bit, our game started. To my surprise, the host was Serena. Serena, what are you doing here? She winked playfully. Can't I have a side gig after work? The script wasn't too hard. After 3 hours, we wrapped up nicely. After saying goodbye to my coworkers, I stood at the door, lit a cigarette, and took a long drag. Serena had gotten off work too, and stood next to me for a bit. Rocky, did something good happen to you? You look way better than last time. I smiled but didn't say much. There was something good. The cigarette burned in glowing embers. When Serena coughed, I put it out. It's late. Let me take you home. She didn't refuse. I called for a driver and we got in. The night breeze was cool. Neither of us spoke, but just as I dropped Serena off, someone appeared in front of the car. Through the window, Haley glared at me, her face stiff and cold. You're divorcing me because of her. I didn't want to talk to her. I told the driver to steer around her, but she suddenly opened the car door and sat beside me. Say it, am I right or not? If I hadn't happened to be passing by while buying supplements for Tony, were you planning to keep me in the dark forever? A ridiculous thought sprang up. Could it be she still cared about me? But I quickly dismissed the idea. No, she just couldn't stand anyone touching her personal belongings. I shook my head, letting the alcohol haze fade, then turned to look at her. What does it have to do with you? Go take care of your Tony. She hesitated. Maybe it was the presence of the driver that made her tone oddly soft. You've been drinking. Where do you live now? I'll take care of you. Haley hated the smell of alcohol. Every time I came back drunk from a dinner, I would sleep in the study, so I wouldn't disturb her or get scolded by her. But this time she didn't seem mad. She was even acting a little humble. Please come home tonight, okay, darling? I didn't understand what she was trying to do. I kept a cold face and said nothing. Her rare tenderness didn't warm me in the slightest. The driver looked conflicted. He asked through the rearview mirror, should I go to the original address, sir, or the original address? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Haley's face darken, but she didn't say anything. By the time we arrived at the rental, most of the alcohol had worn off. I pushed away her outstretched hand and opened the door. I didn't expect that as I turned around, she would squeeze in through the gap. Please don't ignore me. I'm scared. Can we just talk? I frowned and lay on the sofa. I really didn't know who she was putting on this act for. Haley, are you crazy? You're the one who told me to just wait and see a few days ago. Now what, playing the loving wife? My voice wasn't quiet. She was stunned by my shouting. Her eyes welled up and she shrank back a little. Why are you being so mean? You know, I just had surgery a few days ago. Can't you be a bit kinder? I didn't even do anything that bad. I only used our child's life to save Tony. I couldn't listen anymore. Not that bad, fine, it's my fault then. I picked up the water on the table and drank it down. I took a deep breath, signed the divorce papers. Let's not make this any uglier. No, Haley panicked. She kept shaking her head. I won't agree to it. I won't sign. Even if I was wrong, can't you give me a chance to fix it? She leaned down and threw her arms around my neck, rubbing against me. I don't believe you don't feel anything for me anymore. I'm 1,000 times better than that woman you were with today. Seeing my expression remain stern, she softened her tone, almost pleading. Please, I'll change starting today, okay? Come home with me. We can try IVF again if you want. I pushed her away with some force. I opened the door and looked at her. Don't make me call someone to throw you out. Her voice cracked with emotion. How can you treat me like this? When did she become like this? So incapable of understanding anything I say. Her tear-filled eyes should have stirred some softness in me, but I felt nothing. I just wanted her gone. So I told her the truth. By the way, Tony lied to you. He doesn't have cancer. It was all just a plan to make you divorce me. You love him so much. You should give him what he wants. Haley left in fury. As soon as I finished speaking, her eyes widened in disbelief. What, he lied to me? I stared straight at her. She suddenly calmed down, but her eyes burned with growing anger. You're still slandering Tony, even when he's sick. I really don't understand why it's so wrong for me to want him to get better. You've really let me down. She didn't argue anymore. She grabbed her bag and walked away, not even a glance back. After she disappeared, I curled up on the soft sofa, lost in thought. Let down. Haley, it's me who's been let down again and again. That's why when you said those words, I didn't feel a thing. The next day I started my new job. Everything about this place was better. The atmosphere, the people, even the work. I didn't realize how much tension I'd been holding until it all slowly faded away. At lunch, Serena brought a lunchbox and invited me to eat together. She said her mom made it. It reminded me of those childhood memories when I often ate at her place, so I smiled and agreed. During the break, some coworkers curiously asked about my relationship status. I looked down at my bare finger, where the ring used to be. I'm single. I smiled. The day flew by. By the time I looked at the clock again, it was already time to go home. I finally had a chance to check my phone and saw a piece of local news. A corporate shakeup at H Group today. Real estate giant appoints Tony as vice president. He is recovering and will assume his post soon. The photo showed him holding hands with Haley. Their shoulders touched, looking very close. Vice president. Sounds impressive. She really did all this for him. Before hearing anything about them would drive me mad. I couldn't help but question Confront Explode. But now, I just gave the article a like and closed the app. As I walked to the company gate, I said goodbye to Serena, only to suddenly see someone from the news right in front of me. The wind was sharp and cold. Haley pulled her coat tight around her. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. Rocky. I frowned. She was so angry last time. Why come find me again? She didn't wait for me to react, just grabbed my arm. Why didn't you tell me where your new company is? I had to ask around, you know. She pouted at me, acting like she used to. My heart paused for a second. Then I quickly went cold again. What do you want? She looked unhappy. I came to find you. Why are you still acting like this? I pulled my arm away and sighed. Miss Haley, I'm busy. I don't have time to play these little games. If you have time, just sign the papers. It'll be better for both of us. She went silent. She stared at me for a long time, as if I were a stranger. Why are you still insisting on the divorce? I apologized. I know you're upset Tony got promoted, so I came to you first. If it's still about the baby, we can try IVF again, can't we? No need. The words slipped out of me before I could think. A flash of hurt crossed her face. I had nothing left for her, not even the tiniest bit of attachment. She lowered her head deep in thought. After a long pause, she pleaded, can we at least talk? Really talk, please. She sounded more sincere than ever. Thinking of the lawyer's reminders, I finally agreed. Fine. Her face lit up. Great. Then let's meet tomorrow. The next day, I couldn't focus on work. My mind kept drifting back to old memories. There was a green plant on the windowsill. Its bright color reminded me of the time I confessed to her. I had given her a little asparagus fern I grew myself. Back then I was so clumsy and shy. I didn't know how to say how I felt. But she took the plant with a radiant smile. I love this. Do you like it too? I stared at her and nodded awkwardly. Yeah, I do. That moment our young love blossomed. I thought I had the whole world. But when did it change? I can't even remember. Maybe when Tony came back to a city. When she started mentioning his name more and more. After work, I took a cab to Haley's house and knocked. But I didn't expect someone else to open the door. Tony stood there in an apron, smiling warmly. Mr. Rocky, I've heard a lot about you. Hearing the noise, Haley poked her head out from the kitchen. Rocky, you're here. Dinner's almost ready. Just sit and wait a bit. She was wearing an apron, a bit clumsy as she brought out dishes from the kitchen, which were taken over by Tony as he stepped up. Careful, it's hot. Let me. I sat on the couch, looking around at the now somewhat unfamiliar decorations. My lips pressed tight without realizing. The two of them busied about for a while, like an unusually loving married couple, only made me feel more like an insignificant outsider. Just a month ago, I was the master of this house. Half an hour later, Haley called me to the table. I didn't want to say anything extra, just asked directly, "What will it take for you to agree to the divorce?" Haley paused, didn't answer. Instead, she picked up some food for me with her chopsticks. "Can't we eat first? Tony and I cooked together today." To be fair, Haley, a proper rich girl, had rarely cooked before, but looking at the table, it did seem like some effort was put in. Only now, it all felt too late. Back then, Haley was picky with food, changing housekeepers one after another without being satisfied. Helplessly, I squeezed out time from work to cook for her and deliver meals to her office. At first, she was touched, then it became routine, and eventually she grew tired of it. I didn't touch the food and said flatly, "You did a good job, but I feel nauseous now and don't want to eat." Her hand paused in midair, a flicker of awkwardness crossing her face. "I know you're upset I invited Tony, right? But he just got discharged today. I was afraid others wouldn't take good care of him, so I brought him home." She was lying. Every corner of the house was already filled with his things. He must have moved in long ago. Seeing I didn't speak, Haley grew anxious. "Really? And what the master said was true? Look, Tony's better now. It means our child didn't die in vain. Our child saved someone. Rocky, you should be happy." Looking at her pure and innocent face, I suddenly felt the urge to tear everything apart. Tony spoke up right on cue, his voice still somewhat weak. "Mr. Rocky, I know you're upset that I became the deputy manager. If you're uncomfortable, I can resign. As long as Haley's happy, that's all that matters. Without her, I might have died long ago." With that, he bent over, suddenly coughing, his body shaking violently. Haley was startled, quickly stood up and patted his back, passing him a glass of water. "Tony, are you okay? Don't say that. I did what I should have. Don't get too emotional." She turned around, shooting me a glare full of disdain. "What's wrong with you, Arjun? Can't we talk about this later? Why do you have to bring it up now?" I looked at her coldly. "So you knew I'd be upset because of him, but did you ever consider my feelings when you brought him home?" She froze, eyes darting away unnaturally. Clearly, she knew deep down. The atmosphere turned unbearably awkward. Suddenly, I didn't want to keep dragging this out, so I stood up and left the place I'd lived in for years. "If you won't sign the papers, fine, we'll go to court. I don't want anything." Unexpectedly, Tony stopped me. He grabbed my hand, speaking earnestly, but I could see the cunning in his eyes. "Mr. Rocky, this is all because of me. I know it's because my health was weak. Please don't blame Haley. How about this? I'll resign and leave City A immediately. You and Haley can be happy together." He was clearly pretending, but Haley believed him. As expected, when she heard that, she panicked. "No, you can't leave. I worked so hard to get you healthy again. You should stay and keep me company." Tony acted the part well. Even his eyes were red. "But I don't want to make things hard for you." A fire of anger and irritation suddenly rose in my chest. I had kept silent all this time to stay out of trouble, but now I realized there was no point. "Tony, you're quite the actor, huh? Was the 200,000 hush money you gave the master your own? Did anyone ever tell you? Faking illness brings karma." I pulled out my phone and played the confession video from that con artist master right in front of them. Tony's face turned pale instantly. "A week ago, I met that master again at the CAF below our office. He used smooth talk to scam a rich lady out of her money, promising that her husband would come back if she gave a donation. She gave it, and her husband appeared, splitting the cash with the master. I caught them red-handed, gave the guy a good beating, and got the evidence that he helped Tony fake cancer. Mr. Tony did not have cancer. It was all a lie to make Miss Haley believe it." Hearing that, Haley jumped up from her chair, taking a few steps back unconsciously. You lied to me. You never had cancer." Her voice broke as she stared at the panicked man. "Haley, let me explain. I didn't mean to. I just wanted you to care about me." Tony dropped to his knees, reaching for her hand, only to be pushed away hard. "You lied to me." Her eyes welled with tears, filled with determination. Tony had no choice but to nod. Yes, I did." In that instant, Haley collapsed to the ground, completely drained of strength, her eyes lifeless. Get out of my sight. I gave up our child for you, and you lied to me," she screamed, in despair, in pain. "So what? It was just one betrayal." I watched coldly, didn't say a word, opened the door and walked out. Haley had nothing left, not even the strength to stop me. Later, I saw the ending of the drama in the news. Tony got fired and was blacklisted from any related job in City A. As for Haley's family, they surely kicked him out too. "What are you looking at, Rocky?" Serena's voice broke my thoughts. I turned off my phone. She walked over again with a lunchbox in hand, and I couldn't help but smile. "You sure you have enough for yourself? You're so skinny." She covered her mouth and giggled. "Didn't you realize? These are always 2 portions. My mom already knows you work in our company." I was stunned. "Annie knows?" "Yep," she nodded, her cheeks suddenly blushing. "She's been making 2 servings every day. She's worried you're not eating well. I didn't know what to say, just mumbled an The air between us shifted. Something stirred in my heart. I didn't dare meet her eyes. That afternoon, my boss suddenly called me into his office, said a client wanted to talk to me. I was confused. This wasn't my project. Before I could ask more, he shoved me into the meeting room. I looked up. Haley sat on the sofa looking nervous, a pot of asparagus fern beside her. Rocky, the boss quietly stepped out, leaving me to face her unexpected confession. I thought a lot that day and realized I truly made a mistake. I was surrounded by your love, but didn't cherish it. Now I finally understand. You're the one who truly loved me right. I'm here today to ask for your forgiveness, no matter what it takes. I just hope you'll give me a chance to make things right. I frowned, didn't move. What do you want exactly? She handed me the pot of fern. Tony's gone. I've reflected on how I spoiled him and let him deceive me. Please believe me. I've realized now that you matter most. Take this fern. Let's start over. Go back to how things were. The window was open, curious coworkers peeking inside. Even Serena stood at the door looking worried. I was losing patience. My tone grew cold. There's no going back. When you brought Tony home, ignored me, and aborted our child, that was the point of no return. The fern from back then is already dead. This isn't the same one. Let it go. Let's both move forward, can't we? Haley stared at me, tears suddenly spilling down her face, ruining her delicate makeup. Why? You always forgave me before. No matter what I did wrong, you always forgave me. I handed her a tissue. You said it yourself. That was before. Since getting married, I learned one thing, how to comfort myself. Like when I got scolded by my boss and felt lost, wanting a bit of comfort. Haley was out clubbing with Tony at the bar when I had acute gastroenteritis late at night and asked her to take me to the hospital. Haley couldn't bear to put down her phone chatting with Tony. She just waved her hand and told me to take a cab myself. On my birthday, she forgot to give me a gift. The next day, she threw me a stuffed toy she got for free while shopping with Tony. There were too many things like that. I couldn't even count them all. Sadness did come, but I didn't want to make things hard for Haley, so I chose to force myself to heal as long as she was by my side. I thought that was enough, but now it seems it was all just wishful thinking on my part. After crying for a long time, Haley suddenly opened her arms and hugged me tightly. Can't you just forgive me this once? Her fragile body no longer stirred any emotion in me. I pushed her away, opened the door, and left without a word. She should understand my resolve. A few minutes later, I heard a heart-wrenching cry from the meeting room, but I never turned back to look at her, the woman I once truly loved. Half a month later, the company sent me and a few colleagues, including Serena, on a business trip. Just before departure, I received a call from the hospital. Is this Mr. Rocky? Your wife was in a car accident. You're listed as her emergency contact. Please come to the hospital right away. Something stirred in my heart, but I didn't speak. Across from me, Serena looked a little nervous for some reason. Rocky, I smiled to comfort her, then replied calmly into the phone. You've got the wrong number. I'm not her husband. After returning from the trip, Serena and I got together. My parents, instead of objecting, were actually overjoyed. These years, they've been pressured by Haley's family, to the point they couldn't even visit me. Later, we got busy preparing for the wedding. It was tiring, but I was happy to do it. One day, Serena suddenly sent me a video. I opened it and saw it was a local vlogger's live stream highlight. Everyone, I just witnessed a heartbreaking love story. In the video, Tony knelt in front of H Group's building. His body was much thinner, trembling as he shouted with tears streaming down his face. Haley, I was wrong. I know I lied to you, but my heart has always beat for you. I couldn't bear to see you with someone else, so this was the only thing I could think of. I know nothing I do can fix what happened, but I really can't live without you. Please give me a chance. I'll do anything for you. I'm begging you. Just come out and see me. I really love you. His voice cracked from shouting. Passers-by were praising how devoted he was. Even the security guards at the door hesitated to drive him away. Suddenly, Tony started banging his head against the ground. Soon his forehead was bleeding. What's wrong with liking you? Why won't you see me? Don't sentence me to death like this. Amid the commotion, Haley finally appeared. She hesitated for a moment, but still helped the man up. Don't do this. You'll get hurt like that. The man looked surprised and pulled her into his arms. I knew you couldn't let me go. The video cut off right there. Looking at Serena watching me closely, I smiled. Why show me this? It doesn't affect me anymore. Serena pouted at me. It better not. I pulled her into my arms and kissed her on the forehead because the one I love most is already by my side. After that, I gradually stopped hearing about Haley, this woman who once filled so many of my memories. Eventually faded with time. I didn't get stuck in the whirlpool of the past. I chose to move forward, and walk boldly ahead. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.